Welcome to Season 3 of the United by Coffee podcast, where our mission is to unite the world through coffee. I'm Christy Ross with my co-host, a fellow coffee explorer, Greg Hess here.
Hey, Christy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. So, Greg, you're a podcaster and comedian, but you also do a fair amount of freelance writing. Since launching U3, we've been writing a ton of content. It's definitely a honed skill. I'm very much a numbers person, but the writing side and storytelling side is incredibly creative and artful. But my guess is that it's difficult to solely make writing into a career. Is that a fair statement?
I think that's a very fair statement. I think, don't most parents worry that your child is going to come home and say, I'm an English major and I want to be a writer?
Wait, I have one of those. I have one of
those. Good luck to you and to her. I think it is a really challenging industry. I wish I had learned a few more numbers along the way, but I really admire our guest today for not only surviving, but thriving in an industry that's really challenging, and for carving out a niche in the coffee industry by running a fantastic publication, which, as most people know, is a real accomplishment this day and age.
So our guest today is Connie Blumhardt, the founder and publisher of Roast magazine for over 2 decades. Roast has been a leading publication covering the entire coffee industry, literally from crop to cup. Under Connie's leadership, Roast provides in-depth reporting on the people, companies, trends, and innovations driving the specialty coffee scene. The magazine has its fingers on the pulse of the third wave coffee movement, maybe even the fourth, and the boom in small batch roasters and independent cafes. In addition to the magazine, Connie has expanded Roast's presence by launching events like the Roast Summit, an educational forum for roasters. Her annual Roaster of the Year Awards program also celebrates excellence and innovation in the roasting community. Welcome, Connie. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, and thanks for that amazing introduction.
Well, you created that. I mean, you literally built that and deserve all of that. It's fabulous. So first of all, I have to say, I love, 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 love your magazine. It is beautifully designed, like all the way down to the cover and the look and how it feels. And that's even before you get to the incredible content. So I have my very first question has to be, what was the inspiration to start the magazine?
Well, before I started Roast, I actually worked for another coffee trade journal called Fresh Cup. And I started working there in 1997, and I worked there for 6 years, and I really loved the industry. I sold their ad space, and after 6 years, their customers were my customers. I left a little suddenly and didn't really know what I was going to do. And it was sort of right around the time when the roasting community started getting its own legs. And I saw this little niche segment that could probably use its own voice and its own educational outlet. And so that was the premise of the magazine. I waited about 6 months after I left Fresh Cup, and I started Roast in 2004.
2004. Okay, so it's been around 2 decades, as I mentioned earlier.
It's 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years. Oh my gosh. Well, so one question I have asked some of our guests that are in the coffee industry is, what is your go-to coffee publication? And hands down, Connie, it was Roast Magazine or Daily Coffee News, like your online version.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I should go back and show a quick clip of everybody saying it.
That's so nice.
So is there a coffee publication you reference that helps you keep up on trends or hot topics in the industry?
I still really enjoy Roast magazine.
You've got Roast magazine.
I love Roast magazine.
I mean, I love Roast magazine.
Roast magazine or Daily Coffee News are helpful.
So what came first, the physical magazine or the online Daily Coffee News?
Well, 20 years ago, it was definitely the physical magazine. I don't think, Daily Coffee News, we started in 2011. So it was, a little bit after the printed version. And that was the same thing. It was about the same time where, we were the editor of Daily Coffee News. He actually had Daily Coffee News before we partnered together. And he came to me and he was like, hey, I have this website and, what do you think? And it was just about the same time where I was just thinking that we needed an online news source. So let's partner together. So we've been partners since then. And they're amazing. Their team is amazing. They do great work. And we love them so much.
And Connie, my understanding is you started publishing Roast magazine just a few years after the Roasters Guild was founded. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
And then, so what involvement did you have in the early group of the Roasters Guild?
So the very first Roasters Guild retreat was actually here in Portland. Right outside of Portland. And, they were very strict on they were just beginning. So they were just, putting everything together, and they were really strict about nobody that nobody could come if they weren't an actual roaster. So I wasn't able to go, but through Fresh Cup, we like supported the event. We knew all about it, and we saw our friends that came to town to go to the event. And then that might have been 2002 or 2003. I'm not exactly sure, but it wasn't much after that. And then, of course, as Roast, we started attending the event, and we partnered with the Roasters Guild on like publishing their newsletter for them in Roast Magazine. We did that, and we obviously supported and worked together with them from the very beginning, really.
Well, it sounds like with all these early aughts dates that the three of us all remember, I'm sure. But what's been the key to the longevity and the ability to stay within the industry and remain a go-to resource for the coffee industry for you?
I think for us, we just have really high standards. We know what we want. We know, when you were talking about the look and feel of the magazine, that's exactly what we think about every single issue we publish. We want it to look amazing. We want it to read amazing. We want it to feel amazing. And we know that those things will help us, have the longevity that everybody wants, right? But I think our high standards in delivering educational content that that people can't get anywhere else. That's really what's driven us to be where we're at in the industry and continue publishing the magazine and all the other platforms that we have. We, like you said, we have Daily Coffee News, we have Roast Summit, we've published 6 books. So we just keep pressing the bar, raising it higher and higher, and we really love serving the coffee industry, and I think that's helps keep us where we're at.
What's the constant for you over this time?
I think the passion that you see in coffee roasters, if you look at Stumptown, you look at Intelligentsia, they came from founders that were just 100% passion, right? They loved coffee, they drove it forward, and they were able to, turn over their companies to multinationals that, were able to grow it. But I think that's definitely the constant is almost every coffee roaster you meet is just super passionate about coffee, about the industry as a whole, the coffee farmers, relationships. And I think those are all things that have helped us stay in this community too, because we love the same things.
With seeing as much as you have over the last 2 decades, then what has surprised you the most?
One thing that's surprising to me is that I feel like we started talking about sustainability and, paying the farmers more 20 years ago, and we're still talking about that. I think, and maybe that's not like a surprise. It's just the needle has moved. It's just really slow. So I think that's maybe more of a frustrating thing than a surprising thing, but
part of that is education, right? And it's also information. And that's one of the wonderful things that Roast Magazine does is puts out so much truly education and stories and connecting everybody. I mean, and that is actually one of U3's mission is uniting the world through coffee around education and sharing stories. And so I totally, can relate in some ways on that for sure. But okay, so the other thing I want to ask you is, talking about change in the industry, like how do you think Chat GPT changes or enhances or optimizes things for writers? Because I think that's probably like one of the biggest things coming down the pipeline, right?
Yeah. Again, I don't think I'm the smartest person in the room, so I can't even answer that. I can't even wrap my head around it most of the time. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Like it's kind of fascinating and also terrifying at the same time.
As someone who makes a small part of my living as a writer, I think I feel the exact same way, which is just it's a little bit mind-boggling. But just even when you went through all the cool things that Roast has done, not just the magazine or the physical magazine, but the newsletters and things like that, it seems like diversifying your ability to write in different ways for different audiences has been so key to your success. And I don't know if GPT has that wherewithal yet, but it seems like that's something that you would only know if you really knew the people behind the coffee and the people that you're writing for.
Yeah, luckily I don't think it's quite nuanced enough to pick up all the different layers that go into writing about coffee education. But someday it might be.
And you still need to know the right questions to ask to tee it up, right? To actually produce the right things. It's sort of that garbage in, garbage out. If you don't know what to ask, you're not going to get the best outcome.
And we've played around with it a little bit, and some of the information that comes back is pretty legit. And then in the same paragraph, there's something that's like, not right at all. So luckily that's, hopefully that'll keep happening.
Let's talk, I guess, pivot a little bit to the Roaster of the Year annual awards that you created for both micro and macro businesses. When you edit down the top 3, how do you evaluate the coffee from each of these entrants?
Yeah, it's actually kind of obviously it's a lengthy process to try to choose the winner. So you can only win if you apply. You have to apply. And the application is very detailed. It's a written application. You submit a form online and you answer 7 or 8 questions about your company. your sustainability efforts, how you treat your employees, your mission statement, your commitment to the industry. These are all off the top of my head. So that's not all of them, but there's 7 or 8. So you answer each question, and then from the written applications, we choose 3 finalists from each category: the micro category, which is under 100,000 pounds roasted a year, and the macro category, which is over 100,000 pounds roasted a year. And then each finalist sends a pound. They send 3 different coffees, a pound each, to 2 different labs. One of them is Atlas Coffee in Seattle, and the other one is Coffee Analysts in Vermont. And they are cupped by SCA standards and given scores. And then based on the scores of the cupping and the written, we choose our winners.
And those are the judges are sort of from those places that you're sending from Atlas or from Vermont
And from Coffee Analysts, yeah.
Oh, cool. And then how important do you think winning the Roaster of the Year award has become, both for the folks in the industry, but also the end consumer? And I actually have a story, because I knew you were coming on, and I went to buy coffee the other day, and I saw Roaster of the Year on a Verve bag, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to try it. So it worked on me.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So, what do you think about how it's affected the industry and also the consumer?
Well, it's an interesting question for me to answer, because I've never been a winner, right? I don't really know what happens. I can ask what happened, and people tell me what happens, but and it almost feels a little boastful on my end to say, oh, it's the most important award of the industry or whatever. But, I would never say that, because that's not my personality. But the winners do tell us that it's an incredible honor, and the recognition that they get from within our industry and from their customer base, it's, they've not experienced anything like that before. And I've seen companies win Roaster of the Year that have been like, maybe we've heard a little rumblings about their company, like, oh, they're doing this or they're doing that. And then, a year after they've won the award, they're, on the forefront of everyone's tongue. Everybody knows who they are. And I can't obviously take credit for that, because I just gave them an award. They've already done the work. They're already doing great things within their company, and they're already making great coffee. So when people get to identify with what they do and the coffee they produce, the rest is, it's already done on their part. What past winners have told me is that it helps them connect to their customer base. I don't know, if you're getting brand new customers from all over the globe, because they see the Roaster of the Year winner, but definitely within the communities that they work in, it's been super important, because it validates them as being the best in their industry. So the consumers that they serve already are like, oh yeah, I already knew I liked this coffee, but now I even like it more.
And it sounds like if you're highlighting people who are innovating, even though the industry isn't aware of them yet, just by amplifying that innovation, then it affects the industry at large, it sounds like.
Yeah. And other people have told me, like, when you fill out the Roaster of the Year application, like, I recommend everyone to fill it out, not based on roasting coffee, but just business in general.
Right.
Like, every time I read all of the applications, I'm like, oh my God, these people are doing amazing things within their company, not necessarily associated with coffee, just in general. But people tell us that when they fill out the application, it's just a checklist. It's like, oh, I'm not doing this, or, oh, I'm not doing that. And then when they read the articles about the winners, they do the same thing. They're like, oh, we could be doing that. Yeah, I'm going to do that. And it helps raise the bar, I think, for everybody.
Did you start doing the award program? Like, what year did you start doing the award program? Was it when you first launched, or was it later?
We always announce the winner in our November, December issue, and we did that the very first year.
Well, all right, so I'm going to jump over to the Roast Summit. Tell us a little bit more about the Roast Summit, and really kind of what your motivation was to provide these relatively low-cost education opportunities.
Over 20 years of doing this, or 25 years of doing this, I've been lucky enough to go to the Roaster Guild retreats, go to all the SCA events. And for me, seeing everybody being able to make the connections that you make at these events and the educational platforms that are provided is really important to me. Like, that's why I'm here. That's why I love what I'm doing. People always ask, what do you love about what you do? I'm like, 100%, it's the people in the industry. So we really wanted to be able to provide an event that's low cost for people, to be able to bring people together, provide this platform at a reasonable entry point. It's not easy, because we don't charge that much, but we're also not in it to, make hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're just trying to bring the community together. And I feel like, because we do have a great source of writers and industry friends that we're able to pull in, really good educators, really good speakers, and provide a great platform for people to come and attend the event.
Right. Well, what are some of the things that Roast Summit has planned then for the future?
We've got big plans. We've got big
And
plans.
you're going to hear it here.
We are having a second summit in the Chicago area in the fall of this year. And then in fall of 2025, we're actually going to host a really big event here in Portland, Oregon. Part of it will be the Roast Summit. Part of it will be a big announcement that we'll make in January. And then we're also going to have a Portland Coffee Festival, which Portland doesn't have one.
Whoa.
Yeah, so there'll be this 3-part event, all coffee related, in October of 2025.
Wow. Well, so, there's Bacon Fest, there's Sausage Fest. We need a Coffee Fest here in Chicago.
Yeah, it's funny that I never really thought about having a coffee festival because, we don't really work directly with the consumer, but we were putting together this fairly large event that we're planning for next year. And we're like, why wouldn't we just have a coffee festival too? We don't have one here in Portland. And I know that other cities have them. So we're like, that sounds great. That sounds really fun.
And with the Roasters Guild retail events ending, after 2023, do you plan on the Roast Summit filling that gap with things like this, or are you going to stay with the current model as you expand to?
I don't think we could ever make a big event like Roasters Guild Retreat. At the height of Roasters Guild Retreat, I think there were close to 300 or 400 attendees. So I don't think we can make it that big. It's just a too big event for our small staff. But we'd like to have some more regional ones, and that's why we were able to add Chicago.
So looking ahead to the future, what coffee trends or issues are you keeping a close eye on that you think will be important for the industry?
One of the things that's, I think, interesting from my point of view is I've seen so many trends come and go. Cold brew did not go. It came, it stayed, it still seems to be growing according to the National Coffee Association. So I think, we're going to see more drink trends. Everybody's always trying to up the game, do something different. I think we'll continue to see those, long after I'm around. I think one thing that I've been seeing lately that's just sort of fascinating to me is the to-go cup, like Stanley model thing. It's like so fascinating to me because as soon as one ramps up as like the leader, there's a new one right behind them. It seems like every 6 months there's a new to-go mug kind of, tumbler kind of thing. And I've started to laugh at like, someone's like, oh, you gotta have a Stanley. I'm like, yeah, ask me in 6 months. You'll have to have something else. There's a reason why I have a cupboard full of tumblers. That's not very exciting trends though. But me personally, I hope that we can continue to, move that needle on the sustainability issues that we have in our industry, paying the farmers more. That's what I hope for. And, we try to write about it and bring it to the forefront as much as possible. And, hopefully we're making a small difference.
Something I really appreciate about Roast Magazine when I was, reading some of the articles was providing a space for equity and inclusion in the world of coffee, which seems like you all really pay attention to highlighting voices that might not otherwise get attention. And, I know, Christy, you three is founded on a really similar principle that, we admire and appreciate, different voices in the room. What's something about showing that diversity in the world of coffee that's exciting to you? Because it did jump out to me.
Well, I think that our industry in some ways, like if you get past a certain level of, all the blue suits at an event or something, all the male blue suits at an event, there is diversity. You just have to look a little bit harder for it. It's there. And, highlighting it is just one of the things that we want to make. We want to make the industry better. And we know if we can hear those voices that we can hopefully, carry it forward more.
Yeah, you do it very well. And like Greg said, it stands out. Anybody who comes to the publication, you can really see that. The other thing too, you just mentioned, sustainability earlier. And so, and obviously sustainability is a growing concern. How has Roast Magazine addressed sustainability issues? Like what role do you see the publication playing in promoting sustainable practices within the coffee community?
Well, as you know, the sustainability in coffee has many different layers, right? The actual crop, the farmers, everything from shipping to everything, carbon. We just try, we try to cover those topics and try to address them and, educate people on them. This is what's happening. You need to pay attention. Let's be better. Let's be better humans and be better companies. And let's, make sure there's coffee around in 50 years.
We've spoken to, so many interesting people throughout the coffee industry, but you really interested me because, not just as someone who's in the industry, but as an entrepreneur and as someone who's in the publishing industry, which, as we know, is a really challenging industry, I guess is a way to put it. And what, do you have any advice for people that might be aspiring writers or journalists or someone who is interested in making content within the world of coffee? and how, you've carved out such an interesting niche in what has tended to be, I don't know many publications that last 20 years. So do you have any advice for people that might be striving to look for a place within the world of coffee, writing about it or otherwise?
I think that there's always a piece of luck involved in certain things. So I always thank luck a little bit for where I am. But the reality of where I am today, it's all based on my drive. Like, I decided I was going to do this thing, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it to the highest standards that I can. And I think, if I have advice for people, I'm like, just do it. Like, get it done. If you want to be a coffee writer, be a coffee writer. Like, start reaching out to the publications and put your name on the map. If you're good at it, you're going to get picked up, and you're going to get picked up again and again and again.
What's one memorable story that stands out to you from your years with Roast Magazine, and why does it hold maybe this, special place in your heart or special place in your career?
One of my favorite memories that just happened was at the SCA Expo in Chicago. And I don't know, sometimes these things just pop into my head. I'm like, why have we never done that? But we decided that we would invite all of the past Roaster of the Year winners to our booth to take a quick photograph. Never done that. Yeah. And I think maybe everyone was there, but like maybe 5, maybe even less than that. And it was so amazing to see everyone there. One, I've connected with all of them mostly personally, so it was great to just have like that kind of family reunion. But the one thing that I was so proud, and it was an amazing feeling to bring all of these elite coffee roasters from around the community, or the industry together. But then to see them, the way they were interacting with each other, it just like, it took my breath away, because you saw them, you could just see the awe that they had for each other and the things that, they each thought that the other companies were doing really well, or the circle, the people that were in the circle were just some of the best people in our industry. They really love what they do, and it just shows outwardly so much. And it was really cool because, a lot of the people hadn't met each other, but they all know who they are. So it was really special to me.
This is what we, I guess, call a lightning round or something. We just have a few really quick questions here at the end. Is there a fun fact or something that pops out to you that maybe most coffee consumers don't know about?
I think some coffee consumers do not know that coffee's green, or that coffee's a cherry, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And is there a coffee tip, anything that you would pass on to a consumer?
I think I like to tell consumers, people, they always say, what is your favorite coffee, or what's your favorite coffee brand? It's like, it doesn't matter what my favorite coffee brand is. It needs to be what your taste palette like, what you like, because I feel like there's so much variation in coffee roasting, and some people like it one way, some people like it another. So it's really hard to say something's the best, or, what I like is the best. So trust your own instinct and go with what you like.
I promise I won't ask you for your favorite brand, okay? But we do have a question series that is called the U3 Top 3, so also very brief answers. Your favorite brewing method?
Just a coffee brewer.
Okay, drip. Okay, and for consumption, like your coffee drink of choice, is it just black? Is it extra?
Just
like
black.
A latte. Okay, perfect. How many cups of coffee do you drink per day?
2.5.
Wow.
2.5. I don't think I've gotten the fractional cups.
It's very specific, and it's very respectable and controlled of you. I could 2.5 is kind of where I start. Okay,
this is it.
That's the cup. Okay.
So I'll give you a secret. So both my husband and I, we work from home. He makes 1 pot of coffee every day, and we split it. And I'm too lazy to go downstairs to get a refill, so I just fill a tumbler, and that's how I know it's only 2.5 cups.
Well, we want to give you the opportunity to share where someone can learn more about you and Roast Magazine, socials or whatnot. And could you just let us know and the listeners where to find Roast and anything else they might need to know?
Yeah, you can find everything about everything we do at roastmagazine.com. All of our platforms, our books. There's a link to Daily Coffee News. There's information about Roast Summit, and like I said, we'll have some exciting news in January. So check it out.
I'm on the edge of my seat. I want to know.
I know. Is it in the budget? Can I show up, Christy?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
We'll all go. All right. Oh my God. Well, Connie, thank you so much for joining us
Thanks
today.
for having me.
And we appreciate your time and, of course, sharing your awesome story with us. So thank you for that.
Thanks to all our followers as well. We want to hear from you. You can always reach out to us at connect@u3coffee.com or just in the comments with your guest recommendations, coffee tips and tricks, and of course, always what you're drinking.
And again, that's connect@u3coffee.com or head to the letter U, the number 3, coffee.com, where you can learn, connect, and explore the wonderful world of coffee. We'll see you next time.